Hello folks, just to let you know, we also create strategic websites for clients worldwide. So if you or anyone you know needs a new or redesigned website, please visit us at creativethunder.co and get in touch. By doing so, you'll help us to continue to develop more videos like the one you're about to watch. Hello folks, Wednesday, 4th of May 2016. Step outside the house and we have just more monstrosity. Non-stop monstrosity. All day they've been flying, as every day, nothing new there. But just the level of audacity ever increases, grows ever more astounding. Here's another plane flying right through the sun right there. Turn around. What do we have? Of course, we have another airplane with ungodly long chemtrails. And the idiots of the world still think that they're contrails, still think that it's moisture. The idiots of the world never cease to amaze us. No matter how much aerosols are in the air, in the sky every single day, the idiots are still going to believe that this is moisture emanating from the plane's engines. And it doesn't matter how hot it is, it doesn't matter how south you are, how hot the climate is, what country you're in, what season it is. The supposed moisture never dries up, never goes away. Remember folks, moisture is that same phenomenon as fog. And yet fog does as real moisture does. It dries up and it evaporates and it disappears. But this so-called moisture does nothing but spread and spread and spread until we're left with this audacious mess. White lines everywhere. Nothing but white lines that forever stretch out, forever spread out, combine up, leaving our skies just a blanket of white, gray, toxic, metallic, airbrushed looking mess, leaving us with white sun that has no heat, no warmth to it, just a platinum white glare that hurts the eyes. And we've always got this band of white-gray grunge at the horizon. Grows ever grungier as time goes on, ever thicker. But look at these skies, folks. Look at all the lines. These are not the skies that we used to have. Nobody can tell me, unless you're just a kid, that these are the skies that you remember over the course of your life. But nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody's so busy being brainwashed. Everybody's so busy being a Stepford wife. Nobody wants to talk about the obvious, that our sun has literally been stolen from us. Nobody wants to talk about the satanic powers that be that have stolen our natural weather, our natural climate. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that they're spraying untold hundreds of thousands of tons of aluminum oxides out of airplanes. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that when we were younger and we were told that our cans of hairspray or whatever the aerosol can it was that we were spraying was depleting the ozone layer. Does anybody remember that? Back before the lies of climate change, we had all this propaganda. Whether it was true or not, who knows? Virtually anything that we are told turns out to be a blatant lie, but let's suppose it was true. Does anybody remember that when we were spraying cans of whatever it is, spray paint, hairspray, WD-40, whatever, that the aerosols were supposedly making the hole in the ozone layer bigger and bigger. Well, guess what, folks? If you read the papers on geoengineering, and specifically solar radiation management, otherwise known as aerosol injection, where these white papers, these research, supposedly scientific papers, talk about the dangers of inserting aerosols into the air. Guess what they tell us? Even though they say this is only something that could be done, it's always posed as a theoretical. But of course, anybody who's been paying attention for the past 8, 9, 10 years knows that this is not theoretical. We know that they've been doing the very thing that they say that they could do, because we can see it every single day, happening 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, no matter where you live. But the danger, were they to begin the injection of aerosols into the stratosphere, or were they to begin the solar radiation management technique, just exactly as they are doing now, they tell us that the real danger is that once they started spraying, they would never be able to stop, that they would have to spray ever more. The reason? Because they know that the spraying of the aerosols into the stratosphere burns up and depletes the ozone layer. That layer of protection, if you don't recall your science from when you were younger, that layer of protection that protects us from the dangerous ultraviolet rays of the sun. So were they to start spraying aerosols into the air, then they would never be able to stop. They'd have to spray ever more. That's one of the agreed upon conclusions that the scientists have come up with. And yet we can see that this is not an if, but an actual fact. Because what we're looking at here, folks, is not moisture coming from airplane engines. What we're seeing billowing out of these airplanes, and what we see billowing out of airplanes all the time, every day, no matter where we are aerosols. The very aerosols that are destroying the ozone, that are known to destroy the ozone layer, such that once they begin spraying, they must ever increase the spraying, that they could not stop. So it sounds like, folks, that we are beyond the pale, well beyond the pale at this point, because none of us have cared to notice. Because none of us have cared to notice that the sky has been wrought with these ridiculous etch-a-sketch lines for the past 7, 8, 9, 10 years, depending on where you've been living. Look at this. Because none of us cared to actually notice this. Because none of us cared or had the courage to speak up and say, hey, what are you doing to our skies? What are you doing to our world? Because none of us cared, or none of us had the courage to speak up. It becomes more and more audacious every single day. And if it's true that once they start spraying to try to deflect the sunlight away from the earth, and it's true that it burns up the ozone layer, and that they have to increase the solar radiation management flights and the spraying, then that's what we've got today. Because every day it grows more audacious. And yet still, as audacious as it is, as white as the skies are on otherwise what would be beautiful blue sky days, nobody talks about it. Everybody just says, oh, what gorgeous weather. You're so lucky to have brought this gorgeous weather with you. Well, it's not gorgeous. It makes us sick to our stomachs. It has absolutely cast a literal pall over our lives throughout our, the 4 years we've been traveling, 20 plus countries, no matter where we are, no matter what season. Everything is white. Everything is grayed out. We have these radiated clouds. these aerosols that are just like strewn hideously through the air like some Frankenstein creation. And still, nobody cares. And of course, when I say nobody, I know there's actually a great number of people who are really pissed off about this. People who are just flabbergasted to the extent that they can hardly even speak about it. So audacious is this crime that is perpetrated right over our heads, spraying poisonous heavy metals into our air day in and day out, having these screwed up skies all the time, these audaciously scarred and hideous skies that nobody wants to recognize as being obviously, satanic, demonic, and wholly unnatural. And so we just end up with this, folks, to the point where we never have a beautiful day. We never have a beautiful blue sky day. This is what passes as a beautiful blue sky day, but if you look at how white it is. Look at how white the sun is. Look at how fucked up the sky is. Look at all these streaks of aerosols everywhere, in every direction. Again, it doesn't matter where you are. I've been living in Britain and Europe full time since 2005. And I think it was worse here than it was in the US initially, but I can see from the videos and the photographs in the US that things seem just as bad there and elsewhere as well. And so we've let the powers that be completely destroy our natural worlds. No more do we have true blue skies or anything even close to it, folks. Next time you think you're having a beautiful sunny blue sky day, pay closer attention. Pay attention to the fact that the light is incredibly dimmed, incredibly diminished from what it should be. Notice that we no longer have those gorgeous, inspiring evenings where people feel like sitting outside at a cafe or an outdoor restaurant having their dinner, or sitting in the back garden with a barbecue. Instead, everything is cool to cold. There's virtually no warmth from the sun whatsoever because the aerosols are blocking the sun. The wind kicks up, just as it used to do. I can remember living in Santa Fe, New Mexico. As soon as the sun would dip below the horizon, the wind would kick up and get really strong and fierce. And that's what it's like all the time now. So this is what we've got, folks, because we didn't have the courage to speak up when it mattered. We still don't have the courage, do we? So few people have the courage to even acknowledge the truth of their own experience, that this world is not the world that we lived in 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's a near infinite number of planes flying in the air all the time, crisscrossing, shooting right through the remaining blue, making sure that any semblance of blue sky is turned white. That's it for now, folks. This is 30 seconds after I turned off the camera, but I just want to show you these lines that were showing really distinctly off to the right here have completely diffused and turned the sky white, just exactly as is happening over here. Just exactly. Look at all those lines that have just spread out and combined. A couple more airplanes leaving trails there. Look at this big huge one here cutting across there. We can see the exact same effect no matter which way we go, 360 degrees. These audacious lines, these audacious aerosols being sprayed into our skies all the time. What's it going to take, folks? Leave your comments below. I'd love to hear from you and see how this compares to wherever you're living. Let us know what you're doing to try to raise awareness of the geoengineering, the criminal geoengineering that's taking place worldwide, that's ruining our skies, stealing our sunshine from us, poisoning our food, our air, our water. And I look forward to hearing from you. And this is about 15 minutes after I stopped filming the last time. I just want you to see all the new lines that have already been sprayed across the sky, and how much wider and how much more of a mess it is than just 15-20 minutes ago. You know, you can see, I can see five or more airplanes across the horizon flying right now. And there's something else you might not remember. Do you remember around circa 2005, 2006, what a fuss was being made about people flying airplanes, and basically how immoral it was for people to be flying because of the aircraft causing so much of a disproportionate amount of the carbon dioxide that was supposedly causing climate change to begin with. Okay, now how do you square that up, folks? How do you square up the fact that commercial flights were supposedly causing a disproportionate amount of the carbon dioxide buildup in the atmosphere, with the fact that there is now, as I said, a near infinite number of flights constantly crisscrossing the air, spraying these aerosols? It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. We're told one thing for 5, 10, 15 years until it's pummeled into our heads, and then they completely flip that on its head. Look at these lines, folks. Look at all these lines that have just been drawn or in the process of being sprayed right now as I shoot this video. Look at how many flights there are. In that paradigm where air traffic, commercial air traffic, was playing a disproportionate role in infusing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, such as it was causing climate change, which I don't believe for a second, but that's what we've all been told for years and years and years. And yet all of a sudden now, when we've got a near infinite number of flights flying, we don't hear that argument anymore. All of a sudden the story has changed. And how can it possibly make sense? How can it possibly make sense that the biggest contributor to climate change caused by carbon dioxide, how can it possibly make sense that the way you overcome that disproportionate amount of carbon dioxide is by putting yet more aircraft into the air and spraying aerosols? It makes no sense whatsoever. If that was what actually caused the climate change disproportionately, how can the solution possibly involve throwing a bunch more aircraft into the air to spray aerosols constantly back and forth across our skies? You know, so many of these lines have just been flown across the sky since I was filming 15 or 20 minutes ago. And look at how many of them there are crisscrossing. And remember, there was still a semblance of blue sky. Now look at it. Now look at all these lines being freshly drawn across the sky. How can that possibly make sense? Where do the lies begin and end? First, we're told all over the course of our younger years that we have to be careful with cans of aerosol cans. You know, spraying hairspray and spray paint and whatever else comes out of an aerosol can because of the CFCs, the fluorocarbons or what have you. That was the story of those years. And then we get the story of how we mustn't fly. That is completely unsustainable. And then we get this, where this apparent solution of flying aerosols as a way to deflect the sunlight back away from the Earth, back into space, are flown by the very aircraft that are supposedly cause a disproportionate amount of the problem. It makes no sense whatsoever. But such are the lies of the powers that be, that we get told one thing for years and years until we finally get it, and then they just flip that on its head and give us yet more lies. Hello folks, still 4th of May 2016, and it's about 2 hours after I turned off the camera before, And I didn't intend to shoot another video, but I've got to show you what has happened in those 2 hours. And I want you to see the sheer number of planes and how etched up the sky is. Just look at this. First of all, look at the sky. It's completely, utterly filled with aerosols. There goes another plane. Look at all the lines. I'm sure that you're not going to be able to see nearly all that I can see with the naked eye, because the video always makes things smaller and obscures things. But look at how many lines are etch-a-sketched across the sky. Look at how grungy and orange everything is near the horizon. But just look at how many planes are flying. They're non-stop, folks. Lines everywhere. 360 degrees. Here I am standing in the middle of the field. Just look at the number of lines. Those that have been recently laid down, as well as those that have been diffusing out. The number of lines is just countless, absolutely countless. After all, they've been flying the entire day. The whole sky is filled with aerosols. And look at this. How are people not paying attention to this? Look at this. This looks like a complete sci-fi. Look at all these lines lit up, backlit by the sun. The whole sky is striped. And yet everybody, all these Stepford wives, living their suburban existence or rural England existence, nobody pays attention to it. This is an absolute no-go topic. Do not discuss that which is glaringly and obvious in front of your eyes. Don't pay attention to what's overhead. Just stick in the house. Don't go outside. Don't say a word of this to anybody, because they'll of course think you're crazy. But what's crazy, folks? Craziness, insanity, is not paying attention to the reality that's right in front of your fucking nose. Look at this. This is horrid. It's demonic. It's satanic. There's another one shooting up from the left-hand side. Yeah, I can see another one shooting off towards the left, one towards the right. Still have this one in the center. There's two more flying over here. There's just an infinite number of planes, folks, in the air at any given time. Our entire sky is sliced up. Look at this. All of the blue is covered with aerosols. Look at how many lines we're talking about, folks. And the idiots still think that this is commercial flight traffic. Here's another one flying to the left of the sun, outwards. Look at this. Anyways, that's it. I just wanted you to see what developed over the course of the 2 hours since I was filming before. Look, there's another plane flying to the left there. If you were standing here with us, you'd be astounded, because there's far more planes than you're going to be able to see on the video. But I think you can see enough to where you can see the point that I'm making, and just how absolutely chock-a-block the skies are with aerosols. This is what we're breathing all the time. This is why the horizon, no matter where you are, the horizon is this grungy, orange, white, gray crap. It's because everywhere that we are on Earth, no matter where you're living, this is what we're breathing. This is what we're living in. We're existing in that orange, gray crap. Because all of this shit that's being flown into the skies, sprayed out of the airplanes, is coming down to ground level, and we're living in that shit. We're living in those toxic aerosols made up of heavy metal nanoparticulates, for which there are no safe levels of human consumption. But of course, all of the agencies, the Environmental Protection Agency and all those pseudo-protection agencies, are not there to protect us. They're there to protect the criminals at the helm. Look at this, folks. Look at how drawn up the sky is. Look at all these lines. That's it for now.